The next thing that's important to know, yes, it's possible that you can choose your future and direct the course of your life as you run toward your dream. It's necessary that you have goals, that you write those goals down, that you plan, that you think constantly of how you can begin to improve what it is that you're doing. If it's your presentations, if it's your recruiting skills, whatever that is, it's also necessary that you look for ways to always find a way to pull it out when everybody else thinks that you are defeated. That you've got to take personal responsibility to know that in order to become successful, you've got to make it your personal business to do it. But the next thing, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you that some of you already know that it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard changing your life. It was hard when just over 3 years ago, in the Penobscot building in Detroit, Michigan, where I was operating my business, and I fell on some hard times, and I was sleeping in my office. It was hard coming into the lobby, and the security said, "Excuse me, Mr. Brown, can we see you for a moment?" And I said, "Yes," and I walked up to the counter, and he gave me an envelope, and he said, "Would you mind reading it here?" And I opened the envelope, and the envelope was from management that said, "This is an office tower. It's not a hotel. Please do not sleep in your office." And I said, "Excuse me, sir." I said, "I just work long hours in creating my business. I'm an entrepreneur. And right now things are bad for me, but they're not going to be this way always. And I just asked for the opportunity to continue to operate like I'm doing. I'm not trying to make this my home." And it was hard coming through the lobby. And sometimes they would laugh. There's a guy talking about becoming successful. And look at him. He's bathing in the bathroom upstairs on the 21st floor. He sleeps on the floor. Him and 2 other dreamers up there. Look at him. It was hard, ladies and gentlemen, coming to speak to people. And I was facing financial difficulties in my own life. I was behind on my bills and my dreams, and I'm saying to them, you can live your dream. It was hard, ladies and gentlemen. It was very difficult to pick myself up each day believing that I could do it. There were times that I doubted myself. I said, "God, why is this happening to me? I'm just trying to take care of my children and my mother. I'm not trying to steal or rob from anybody. Why did this have to happen to me?" It was very hard. And here's what I want to say to you. For those of you that have experienced some hardships, don't give up on your dream. No one could have convinced me by holding on, by continuing to push forward, by continuing to run toward my dream, that one day I would have my own talk show. It's a long shot, ladies and gentlemen, from Liberty City, an abandoned building on a floor, never knowing my mother or father. It's a long shot. Being here with you today in this dome in Atlanta, it's a long shot. No college training, labeled educable, mentally retarded, but I kept running toward my dream. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop running toward your dream. It's very important as you hold on to that dream. There are moments when you're going to doubt yourself. There are rough times that are going to come, but they have not come to stay. They have come to pass. It's very important for you to know that. Don't say, "I'm having a bad day." Say, "I'm having a character building day." It's very important for you to believe that you are the one to make this happen. I remember this high school teacher, Mr. Leroy Washington, at the end of school one June, it was just a few days before we were supposed to leave. And I just got my report card. And it indicated that I'd failed history, and I'd failed English, and I would have to go to summer school. And I was feeling within myself that I was a failure, that I'm slower than most people in getting paperwork, and I was feeling down on myself and very negative. And Mr. Washington was giving a speech to the graduating seniors, and I was in 11th grade. And even though I wasn't supposed to be in there, I went in there because the speech he was giving, that speech was for me. And as he talked, my heart began to beat fast. Tears began to run by my eyes, and I was in the back just listening to him, because he said, and he was a very dramatic man. I still talk to him to this day. He said, as graduating seniors of Booker T. Washington High School, I want you to know that you're blessed and highly favored, and that as you go toward the future, begin to know that you have greatness within you. And if just one of you here begin to envision yourselves as being blessed and highly favored to reach your goals, if just one of you capture the essence of what that means, that you have greatness within you and a responsibility to manifest that greatness, that you can make your parents proud, you can make your school proud, you can touch millions of people's lives, and the world will never be the same again because you came this way. And the students gave him a rousing standing ovation. And as he left the auditorium, I ran down the steps and I caught him in the parking lot. I said, Mr. Washington? He said, yes. I said, do you remember me, sir? He said, no. I said, my name is Leslie Brown. My mother, she works in the cafeteria here. I'm one of the twins, Leslie and Wesley. I said, Mr. Washington, but you know, I got these big dreams. I like talking to people. I love people. I said, I want to work with people, and I got this dream of buying my mama a home. Could I do that, Mr. Washington? He said, it's possible, Mr. Brown. And as he walked away, I called him again. I said, Mr. Washington? He said, what do you want now? I said, I'm the one, sir. I said, I'm the one. You remember me, sir. I'm Miss Mamie Brown's boy. I'm the one. I'm the one. And you must feel that's why you're here, because you are the one. And I remember when PBS first played one of my specials called You Deserve, one Sunday afternoon in Miami, Florida. I had some friends call him to tell him to tune in. And he watched the program. He called me in Detroit, and I answered the phone. I said, hello. He said, may I speak to Les Brown, please? I said, who's calling? He said, you know who this is. I said, oh, Mr. Washington, it's you. He said, you were the one, weren't you? I said, yes, sir. He said, and you were so crazy. I said, I know, but I'm rich now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be easy. It was hard laying on the floor of the Penobscot building, looking out of the window, daydreaming, saying, Les, can you do this? Can you make this happen? I used to listen to tapes day in and day out about See You at the Top, my great friend Zig and Dennis Waitley and different other motivational speakers, and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale and Dexter saying, don't let nobody steal your dream. I used to ask myself, can I do this? And something said within me, you're the one. You're the one. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. While you're here, and before you go back home to your respective cities and communities, write down at least 5 reasons on why you deserve your dream, on why you won't give up, what's going to make you unstoppable, why you must be unreasonable, because logical, practical thinking says you can't do it today. But if you want to produce unreasonable results in your life, like living your dream and taking charge of your destiny, you've got to be an unreasonable person. You've got to be an uncommon person. So write down the reasons of why you're here. My first major goal was to buy my mother a home. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. What will reasons do, Les? Nietzsche said, if you know the why for doing, you can endure almost anyhow. What do you mean by that? If you know why you're doing something, when the hard times come, and they're going to come, when the disappointments and the rejections come, and they're going to come by the truckloads, your reasons will be your rod and staff to comfort you, to pick you up. Once again, I got a saying on one of my tapes: if life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. Let your reasons get you back up. I remember when I bought the home for my mother, and she came out of the car. When I opened the door, I said, Mom, I think I know these people in this house. That was my first major goal. And then I couldn't conceal it anymore. I said, Mom, I got this for you. And as she went from room to room, looking at the house and saying, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. No one ever could have convinced me that this could have happened to me. And she looked at me, she said, Leslie, and you caused me so much problems as a boy. You were always into stuff. She said, no one could have convinced me that day when I walked in that house and this lady was holding you and your brother. And she said, ma'am, I want you to promise me two things. And she said, what is it? She says, one, promise me that you won't separate them. She said, I want them raised together. I want them to know each other. I got pregnant while my husband was away in the war, and I can't keep them. Promise me that you won't separate them. She said, I promise I won't. I've never had children. I promise I won't separate them. And she said, promise me that you'll never tell them about who I am, because if my husband ever found out, he would kill me. She said, I promise. And she said that she gave them to us, and she kind of cried, and she was walking out the door, and she looked at my adopted mother. She said, remember, don't you separate them. She said, I swear to God, I won't separate them. I'll keep them together. And she said, as I held y'all in my arms, I never had any children of my own. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew with the help of God, I will do it. And ladies and gentlemen, my mother had a dream of having children and raising us. She didn't know how she's going to do it. You're going to be just like that. And some of you are already there. Well, you don't know how you're going to make this happen, but you just feel within yourself some way, somehow, with the help of God, I'm going to make it happen. Repeat after me, please. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, you got the right stuff. So yes, it's possible for you to live your dream. It's necessary that you associate with winners, that you work your system, that you are relentless, that you never give up. It's you. You've got to take personal responsibility. You've got to make it your personal business to make it happen. And you've got to resolve within yourself that I can do this, that it's hard, but you've got to say, I'm the one. I'm the one to make this happen. I'm the one to become successful in this business. As you work to help other people to become successful, that feeds your success. But you know it's going to be hard, but find out what will make it worth it for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to make your dream become reality, the people that are running at their dreams know that it's possible that you can live your dream. that it's necessary, that you're relentless, that you have a plan of action, that you are creative. The people that are living their dream of finding winners to attach themselves to. The people that are living their dreams are the people that know that if it's going to happen, it's up to them. And they're resolving within themselves, it's not over until I win. The people that are running after their dream know they're going to have hard times. They keep on running because they're saying within themselves, I'm the one, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. The people that are running after their dreams are the people that are hungry. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, you got to be hungry. And as you run towards your dream, I want to dedicate this to you that I love very much. I want to thank Dexter and all of you. It's something that I'm known by. It's on our tapes called Choosing Your Future, and it says simply this, that if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, famish or gulf, sickness or pain or body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim, you besiege and beset it, with the help of God you'll get it.
When I think about the three pillars of something that would be your anchor, a foundation to drive you into the future, to live a big dream, to live a big life, a mindset, what you think about, you bring about. You know, as a man thinketh, so is he. Dr. Carter G. Woodson said that if you can determine what a man shall think, you never have to concern yourself with what he will do. He said, if you can make a man feel inferior, you never have to compel him to seek an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. And if you can make a man feel justly an outcast, you never have to order him to go to the back door. He'll go without being told. And if there's no door, his very nature will demand one. And I think that in many cases, governments and religious institutions have really unwittingly have crushed the dreams and aspirations and the visions that people had of themselves. Not all, but a lot of them. And I think it's incumbent upon the individual to take responsibility, to develop yourself, to expand your mind and your vision, to seek out experiences. You know, Helen Keller said life should be a daring adventure, it's boring. And start to dream. What do you want? What do you really want for your life? I remember going to Auschwitz and walking down the halls in the Nazi German concentration camps and seeing the pictures of men and women who had dreams. And these people were exterminated. And one of the things that I heard in my mind when I reflected on a book written by Viktor Frankl, who was there, he said, if you know the why for living, you can endure almost any how. And he talked about the people who were able to survive the inexpressible cruelties of Nazism, those who either believed in God or had someone that they loved that they were determined to see, or some cause bigger than themselves. And in my case, my goal was to buy my mother a home. That was my big dream. And that caused me to read things and to listen to things, to fuel my imagination. And then to develop my skills to becoming a voice of influence. And the other thing that's important is creating a community of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. And it started with a man, Mr. Washington, who said, a high school teacher, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. It could start with one person, and then it goes from there. I started associating with people who were doing what I wanted to do. I joined a multi-level marketing group called Best Line Products when I heard the voice of a guy that when he spoke, it seemed like he was talking to me. I was in a hotel at a convention and Bill Bailey spoke and he was selling this dream. I didn't even know the products, but I wanted to be a part of it. And what I found, and one of the great things about multi-level marketing, is that it puts you in a community of other like-minded people. I think that's the value and the power of associations of different kinds. Associating with people who share your values, associating with people, like-minded people who have dreams, who have goals that they're working on, and being in that community. Studies indicate that one goose can fly 40% further in formation with other geese than can ever fly by itself. In fact, I'm thinking about a scientific study where they exposed some rats to electronic shock, and after they increased it, it killed them instantly. But then they put these rats in groupings with other sharks, with other rats, and then what happened was that they continued to increase the shocks of these rats, and they increased it over 10 times more, and it took far more to kill them than what it took with just one. And so there's something about being in a community of people who share your dream, who hold you accountable, who challenge you, who call you out, who can see what you can't see that you have within you, and inspire you to step up. Of Ebony magazine, the late John H. Johnson, who started that with a $500 loan from his mother. And he said something in his book called Making It Against All Odds. There's no defense against an excellence that meets a pressing public need. And I suggest to you, one, work on yourself. To me, I think there are 3 pillars of what's required in order to carve out your place in this global economy. There are many steps, but there are 3 that I think that's indispensable. One is working on your mind. Be ye not conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The second is of having a mindset and willing to discipline yourself, to make the sacrifice, to engage in ongoing self-study for self-growth and development, developing your communication skills. I can hear Mr. Washington now say, Mr. Brown, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. Nelson Mandela said, if you speak from your mind, you speak in a language that a man can understand. But when you speak from your heart, you speak in his language. And so my goal in teaching people how to create mass appeal, how to change lives, that you have to change yourself. It starts with you. And then you begin to see from your experience how you can begin to impact and influence others and be a voice of change. And that ability really will allow you to carve out a place for yourself in the marketplace. And the methods and the techniques, the simplicity of how you language what you say. Einstein said that genius is the capacity to take the complicated and make it simple. And so when you are creating change and mass appeal, keeping it simple, but being the message that you bring, and loving it, and standing in your power, and realize that you're here for a reason. I believe to make a difference. I believe to do a great work. I believe to live a life, as Jim Rohn said, when you live your life, he said, your life can be either an example or it's a warning of what not to do, or an example of what to do and what's possible. 85% of them reach their goals because of their attitude, 15% because of their aptitude. Now, to me, that was big, because I was in special education. I was labeled educable mentally retarded. So I said, whoa, that means I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. That if I have a winner's attitude, that I've got a shot, that I could make it, that I don't have to live a life of being average. I wanted to live a life of meaning, of purpose. Being adopted, I wanted to do something for my mother. And so by listening to motivational messages and reading on a regular basis, it really taught me the value of using your time to work on yourself, to develop yourself, to really restructure your belief system for what was possible for you. It really expanded my vision of myself. And so to me, that's what it means about mass appeal, because I was working on myself. Then I started sharing it with others, and I noticed a difference in them. And I shared with them the things that I was doing because they saw the difference in me. And it's been said that a career is something you love so much you do it for nothing, but you do it so well that people pay you to do it. So as I talked with and shared with my friends what I was doing and what was possible for them, I eventually evolved into this life of where I am. And as a result, I carved out a market for myself. And because this is my passion, this is what I've spent the majority of my life doing, I've developed a level of expertise, a level of strength and power and reputation in this area that created a demand for myself. To me, one of the most important things and the first step in changing lives is to have a program for yourself. When I started on this path, that was what my goal was to change me. Given my circumstances, I think that, psychologists say that we create a mental blueprint between the ages of 1 and 5, that between that time, we determine what's available for us and what's not available for us. And so, given my circumstances, being born in an abandoned building on a floor in a poor section of Miami, Florida, I became interested in a path of developing myself. I remember shining the shoes of Mr. Sidursky, this man that my mother worked for, very wealthy on Miami Beach. She cleaned his home and she cooked for the family and kept the children. And he listened to motivational messages. Unbeknownst to me, that was programming my mind, and it created a thirst within me to get on this path. I remember listening to Earl Nightingale, who said, "You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are." And so to me, reading became an out. It became a tool that I used to develop myself. And not just reading for enjoyment, but reading for personal growth, reading to look at those things that I read and to apply them in my lives. And I would read sometimes at night from 60, 100 pages a night, sometimes a whole book. And then I would underline the book and I would think about them, I would memorize them, and then I would apply them. I would try them out. Because one of the things he said, they did a study of some top achievers and leaders around the world, over 3,000, to find out what was the common denominator among them that enabled them to reach their goals.
Do you know if there's another father and daughter duo that do what you do anywhere in the world? I'm trying to think. Is there anyone?
I don't know. I've
we're
never
the
seen
first
that.
family of motivation.
Yes.
You are? You are?
Yeah.
So you must be enormously proud about that.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about that.
Well, but here's the shocking part. Are you ready for it? She's also my coach.
No, shut up, really?
She said to me one day, "Daddy, are you coachable?" I'm saying to myself, I know she's not asking me. I won the highest award from Toastmasters International, inducted into the National Speakers Hall of Fame, and selected among the top 5 speakers in the world. You're gonna ask me, am I coachable by you? So I said, yes, I am, reluctantly. And then she pointed out something in my presentation that I've been doing for years. And I became very humble. I said, you got a point. And I made the adjustment that she told me. And it made all the difference in the world. So I said, well, will you coach me forever?
Oh, wow.
And I don't invoice them either. But I think this is a good point. I want to bring this out because I think Spencer can do something with this. Because I love your mind, the way it thinks, right? So Dad used to say in his presentation for years that one of the hardest things that he did, one of the easiest things he ever did was to earn $1 million. One of the hardest things he ever did was to believe it could happen to him. And so I said in the coaching, I said, Dad, when you say it could happen to you, it's almost as if you're positioning as if you won the lotto. There's no ownership. I said, it didn't happen to you. You studied, you journaled, you did the work, you went to workshops, you took training, you went to stages and spoke for sometimes chicken dinners. Like you paid dues and you had this vision that you built and developed. And so it's not that it happened to you, it's that the easiest thing you ever did was to earn $1 million. The hardest thing you ever did was to believe that you could do it. He said, whoa.
Yes.
And
That's
then he
real.
shifted. He never said that again, but he had been saying that for years and no one caught it.
A lot of people don't identify with that either, do they? It's kind of like the apprenticeship as you go through it. They don't realize what they're learning along the way.
Right.
And also a lot of people don't feel like they're worth it.
Right.
They don't feel that they have any inherent value. And so because they don't feel they have a value, they can't always believe what's possible. Does that make sense to you?
Totally.
Yes, the area of feeling deserving is so major, particularly if you live in a culture where you've been marginalized and your sense of self has been destroyed. There's a guy named Richard Wright who wrote, he was a very profound thinker and poet. He said, the impulse to dream has been slowly beaten out of me through the experiences of life. And because of what he went through, he wrote a book called The Invisible Man, that he had lost his sense of self and he didn't even think about dreaming because of life was so brutal to him to keep him down. And so there are so many people around the world. I'm looking at things on television about slavery and people being kidnapped and sex slaves and all these types of things. Dehumanization is more prevalent now than ever before. Oh, yes, we're just exposed to the information on it.
Right.
And so we have a lot of work to do. And in the work that we're doing, my goal is, I believe that we should speak to bring life and to give hope, because when there's hope in the future, it gives you power in the present. And that we're very fortunate to be here and to be able to still make a difference, to build a legacy. We feel that evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. And so we see speaking from a perspective that is cause-centered. I believe it's been hijacked by speaking to sell. But I believe that when you speak, you distract, dispute, and inspire. How people live their lives as a result of the story they believe about themselves. And so you distract them from that story. Through the execution of your speaking, you create an experience that allow them to begin to see themselves differently, to get out of their history into their imagination. You expand their minds, you touch their heart and ignite their spirit. And they leave there being, as Mother Teresa would say, a pencil in the hand of God, and start writing a new chapter in their lives.
That's really profound to me. Tony Robbins was talking to me about Operation Underground Railroad with the children and the people that are brought out of sex slavery.
Yes.
And what they do. And that's the fastest growing criminal network in the world.
Yes.
And those people that have been exposed to that and experienced that, first of all, don't look at what the future looks like. They just dwell on the scenario and the environment that they've been involved with. And they do need to be inspired. They do need to, as you just described it there, just beautifully, ignite that fire back in them, because there's a lot of people that have gone through a lot of tough times.
Yes.
And a lot of us don't remember how lucky we are. A lot of the times we take for granted, don't we? And we dwell on our sorrows. And these types of people that come from that place and build again, are always going to need support. And people like you, I believe, give that inspiration to people. I mean, think about it, those motivational videos that you see on YouTube, 1 in a million doesn't have your voice on. All of the others do. They're you. And so your voice moves people, It impregnates people in some part of their body, their mind somehow, and makes them want to charge forward. And that's a very powerful and strong place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that who you are behind the words that you speak, when I'm training speakers, and that's where my life is now, you learn, you earn, you pass it on. And when I'm working with speakers, I say to them, who you are behind the words are far more important than the words that you speak. And so it's very important. We first work on the messenger and then on the message. I'm merely an inspirational speaker for a Jewish carpenter, but that's another conversation, all right? So, but self-development, that we have people speaking and inspiring people to live their dreams, and they haven't done anything.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
So you want to raise the bar on yourself. You want to be the example. You want to be the message. You want to be congruent with the words that you're speaking. Don't practice what you preach, but preach what you practice. I want to share some thoughts with you. Have you ever had moments of breakthroughs that you said, you know what? I need to share this. And I want you to like this page and share it. For some reason, I don't know why, but things have been dropping into my spirit that just accessing parts of myself for some time, that because of the busyness of life, and I allowed it to get in, that I couldn't hear my voice, that voice in my heart. And I think that I was listening to too many voices and caught up in other folks' stuff. Can you feel me up in here, as young folks say, can you feel me? And so I've been intentionally putting distance between me and the majority of people, including family, just to get still and to think and to hear myself think. Because sometimes you can get so caught up in other people's stuff, you neglect your stuff. And so I want to share something with you. And this is, my message is not for everybody. My message is just for a few people, not for large numbers of people. Large numbers of people, even though they can benefit from what I say, but I'm not their guy. They're not my tribe. I'm talking to the people who can hear me and can understand me and can relate to me and connect with me and identify with me because of my approach. My approach is different. I'm listening to a lot of these entertainers and athletes, and there's so many people out here that just can't speak without foul language. There's no filter between their brains and their mouth. And I just can't open my mind to that. A guy wanted me to put together, and when I started looking at it, within 1 minute, I had to stop. And I called him, I said, man, I can't listen to your stuff. He said, why not? I said, the language is too filthy. I don't want to give up territory in my mind for that. There's some stuff you just got to guard your mind and your heart, that you don't need it in your system. It matters. The words that are spoken to you and the words that you speak and the things that you listen to. You think it's any accident? When you look at young people today and their propensity for vulgar language and violent behavior, you think that's an accident? No, absolutely not. So this is for the few, and I want you to like this page and share it. If you know anybody who's heard my voice and they got some value of what I shared, please. And so I want to share some thoughts with you, and they're not going to be long. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about something that's very important to you, something that you'd like to do with your life, something that you would like to accomplish, and that gives your life a sense of meaning and purpose. I want you to think about that right now. I want to share with you, this is my mother, Mamie Brown. And so she took my brothers and sisters and I in as foster kids, and then eventually she adopted us. My brother and I, my twin brother, we were conceived in Gainesville, Georgia. Our birth mother was Dorothy Rucker and Doc Oliver Randolph. And so she came down to Liberty City in Miami to give birth to us and put us up foster care. And so my goal and vision was, that gave my life a sense of meaning and purpose, was I told Mama, what is it, Leslie? When I become a man, I'm gonna buy you a home. As you think about your goals and dreams, I want you to write this down. You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. I was talking to a friend of mine, single mother of 2, and she has 4 different jobs. Spent the majority of her time in her life investing in herself, developing herself, and positioning herself to be able to take care of her children and to live a larger life to provide for them and herself. And it's important that you have some purpose with your life, as mine was in buying my mother a home, but I want you to write this down. Sacrifice. That when Mamie Brown, my adopted mother, always say when I speak, God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. That was a sacrifice for her. Her life changed. At 46, she took in 7 kids that she didn't give birth to. And Mama was attractive. Mama had the ability to sing. She had all types of talents. But when she said to Mr. Moss, our godfather, yes, I'll take him, because our birth mother, thank God, Dorothy Bell Rucker, didn't want Wesley and I separated, and nobody wanted to adopt twins. But Mamie Brown said, I'll take both of them. And her life changed. I remember Mr. Moss said when he was driving Mama back from Liberty City to Overtown in Miami, and she was looking at the 2 of us, and tears of gratitude rolling down her cheeks as she was so thankful that she now for the first time had children in her life, that she could share life with kids. She never had any children herself, and she always wanted a child, and she told everybody. And then when our birth mother, Dorothy Bell Rucker and Oliver Randolph, they wouldn't receive them at Jackson Memorial Hospital. I'm 79, so at that time, Jackson Memorial Hospital was not receiving colored people or Negroes. And so they went in an abandoned building, and she gave birth to us on a floor, but she went into labor. And so my mother, Mamie Brown, her life changed. When you have a goal and dream, something you've set your sight on that you want to achieve, trust me, you got to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up? When I wanted to speak, when I decided I was going to buy Mama a home, and I decided that this is the area that I wanted to plant my feet, and something that gave my heart and my spirit and my soul a joy that passeth all human understanding. I love communication, and so I became a disc jockey, and I used to be involved in sales. I was a salesman at Sears in the men's department. But communication, I love working with people and interacting with people. I had a training seminar here in Atlanta, and this past weekend I said, there's one thing to do a Zoom, but when you're in the room with me, when I get up in your face, let me tell you something, up in here. It was riveting and powerful. Once you think about something that you love so much, you do it for nothing, but you do it so well that people will pay you to do it. I just talked to someone this morning, and I said, I decline to have you as a client. And so she said, why? I said, I want to work with people that this is who they are. You want to dabble in this place. I want to work with people who have who have the mindset that they got to work, that they have got to do. There's something that's in them, that they've got to do it. And there's a work that them not doing it is not an option. I have got to speak. This is what I do. And so this is who I want to work with, those kinds of people. And so I want you to think about that work that you have got to do, that feeds your soul and spirit. 80% of people are going to jobs that they hate. When Friday comes, they say, thank God it's Friday. I want you to think about something that you can do 7 days a week. It's you, and you never go to work a day in your life because it resonates with your heart and your spirit and your soul. Now here's something else. Listen to me clearly. And this is not going to be easy. You got to come out from among the people that you're around right now. When you have goals and dreams and you're around people that don't have goals and dreams, it rubs off on you. It rubs off. It affects you. One goose can fly 75% further in formation with other geese than it can ever fly by itself. I'm creating something called the Live Your Greatest Life community. A place where people, everyday people, with the mindset of goals and dreams and something they want to do with their lives. I saw these guys, you've seen those groups that you've seen on the internet where people get on, groups of guys get on one side and sometimes women participate and they crack on each other and talk about each other's mother or just all type of stuff like that. I said, wow. I said, what if we did something like that where people are talking about their goals and their dreams and we're encouraging each other. We're bringing out the best in each other. And so I don't criticize people who do that, but I said, I'm watching them. I want them to watch me. That evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. And so my goal is to be accessible and build a community with like-minded people who have goals and dreams, people who love the power presentation, people who would love to learn how to tell their story, people who want to make a difference, people who like the positive energy that brings out the best in them. Those are types of communities that I want to be in and that I'm going to create and do it nationally as well as locally and around the globe. And so when I look at my life and people ask, how did you get there? How did you go from your twin brother and you eating sugar cane and raised in poverty in the segregated South, very oppressive culture that's designed to destroy your sense of self and dismiss you and demean you and demonize you? How did you go from that to speaking to people around the world? One of the first things is I had to become aware of who I was and what I wanted and the must-haves. There are a lot of people that are happy and satisfied with where their life is. But I didn't like where I was and I wanted more. And I was willing to make the sacrifice, to do the work, to invest in myself, to do whatever was necessary in order for me to become the kind of person that I could achieve my goals. Because at the end of the day, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. And there's truly no competition. Bob Proctor, God bless his soul, he said that most people are where they are now because they're ignorant. I said, whoa, that's harsh, but it's real. That they're not willing to learn, they're not to upgrade their ability to learn new things. At this stage of my life, I'm learning something new every day. Today, I'm focusing on how to post. Why, Les? You're 79. I know. And if you don't use it, you lose it. This is my anti-dementia program, my anti-Alzheimer's program, my anti-assisted living program, my anti-nursing home program, my anti-caregiver program. I care for myself. I can do for myself. And so I'm challenging myself. I still have not done my best work. I've got friends who are younger than me and they're already through. But that's not me. That's none of my business. I met this man who changed my life, Leroy Washington. You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about this morning. He has 2 sons and 2 daughters. They never saw the man that I saw. He was a speech and drama teacher at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami. They never saw him. Isn't that interesting? They never saw. He he impacted my life. He was more of a father to me, and I got more from him than the children that he brought into this world because they never saw him. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone and it started going south because they never saw you? They thought that you were someone else. They underestimated who you were, and so they never saw it. I remember one time being in a restaurant on 7th Avenue and 62nd Street in Miami, and one of his sons had a waitress to come to the table and said, your son is outside, he'd like to talk to you. And he went outside to talk to his son. When he came back in, and I asked him, I said, hi, what was going on? Is it an emergency? He said, no, he wanted to borrow $15. And this man who was the father that I never had, this man who did not know I adopted him as my spiritual father, I was sitting there having lunch with him, talking about the impact that he made on my life, watching him just signed a contract for $5 million. His son outside calling him to come outside to borrow $15 from him. He never knew who his father was. To this day. And there are people around you who don't know you, who don't see you. They have this antiquated old history about you, and that person that they know, that person's gone, they're died. There are people who see me and say, whoa, Les, I can't believe it's you. Yeah, I understand, because the person that you once knew, he doesn't live here anymore. And there are people that you've been in relationship with or used to kick it with or party with, and they see you or you see them and they're totally different.